Hey there, from the KUOW newsroom, this is Seattle Now. I'm Patricia Murphy with today's top stories. It's finally Friday, July 31st. Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson introduced the new interim police chief, Andre Sayles, at a news conference today. She says she picked Sayles because he's done this job in Wisconsin and touts experience such as 12 years on a SWAT team. Wilson says a search for a new permanent chief will start immediately, and she's looking for certain qualities.
I will be looking for someone who can earn the respect of our police force. I will be looking for someone who can practice clear communication in stressful situations. I will be looking for someone who is consistently present in Seattle, keeping travel to an appropriate minimum, and who also ensures that when they are away, there is sufficient SPD leadership in town to guide our city through any emergency.
She also says the people of Seattle deserve a voice in the selection. Over the past 24 hours, several city council members have criticized Wilson for removing former Chief Sean Barnes. Wilson says it's the best move going forward this summer. Interim Chief Sayles says SPD will increase staffing at all major events this summer. As for the investigation into Sunday's deadly shooting, Sayles says police are looking for multiple people who may have been involved and that SPD could soon make an arrest.
I think we're very close in that finding that suspect and taking that suspect in custody. I've been working with Assistant Chief KUOW on this matter. Today, we're going to meet with our detectives on this and then start moving forward to bring the right person to justice.
A 15-year-old who was detained at the shooting scene has been charged with first-degree assault and unlawful gun possession. Police and prosecutors have not provided details about who they think fired the shots that hit innocent bystanders. Community members held 2 public vigils this week to remember the 3 people who were killed. After public outcry about major delays to extend light rail to Seattle's Ballard neighborhood, Sound Transit has released a new timeline. Casey Martin reports.
The next train to Ballard is now estimated to arrive in 16 years. Today, Sound Transit announced light rail could open on Market Street in 2042. But the transit agency says they'll have to find more money and cut costs over the next several years to make that happen. Roughly $1 billion is needed by 2030 just to buy the land where the tracks and station will live. The full project includes an extension from the International District to Ballard, but currently funding stops the line at Seattle Center, also set to open in 2042. And the design stage for Ballard is also covered, but not construction. If Sound Transit can't raise or save enough money, extending service to Ballard could be delayed until around 2060. Casey Martin, KUOW News.
There are growing demands for the president of Seattle's teachers union to step down following allegations she physically and verbally abused special education students. Noelle Gasca has more.
In June, an SBS investigation into special education teacher Ibijoke Idowu concluded she more likely than not grabbed one of her students, a third grader with autism, hard enough to cause bruising. Ola Ibrahim and Tyson Marsh are the parents of that student, and they want to see the Seattle Education Association share an online recall petition with their members.
I just hope that they read the investigation report and that they think about, if this was me, would I do this? Would I stand by this? And do I want to be led by an individual that has done this?
Idowu was elected SEA president after the start of the investigation in December 2025. The petition currently has over 400 signatures. Idowu and the union did not respond to multiple requests for comment. Noelle Gasca, KUOW News.
Texas-based energy company VoltaGrid has canceled plans for a controversial new gas plant to power data centers in Quincy, Washington. Monica Nicholsberg has the story.
VoltaGrid's plant would have used 14 generators and fuel delivered by more than a dozen semi-truck trips per day. All that power was meant to supply growing demand from a nearby data center campus. But hundreds of Washington residents submitted public comments to the Department of Ecology opposing the project. VoltaGrid pulled out the next day. Valerie Costa is co-director of the Oil and Gas Network. She collected the comments.
There's not much as individuals we can do sometimes. So I think like the data centers are the physical thing we see that we can really organize opposition to. We do need to have a broader conversation as a society around how this technology is being used.
Voltagrid didn't respond to questions about the reversal. It's the latest in a series of data center projects canceled amid growing backlash. Monica Nicholsberg, KUOW News.
Some bummer food news today. PCC says it's ending its cooking classes due to rising costs and a decline in participation. The co-op says the program will come to an end on August 28th when the summer kids camps are finished. PCC says other in-store events, including member gatherings and tastings, will continue. The Seattle Film Commission wants to see the city's biggest movie screen show feature films again. The advisory board sent an open letter this week to the new owners of the IMAX theater at the Pacific Science Center. The company that owns the Space Needle bought the theater earlier this year and announced they would stop screening commercial films and focus on documentary shorts. The Film Commission said it was, quote, saddened by yet another beloved theater being lost and urged them to bring back Hollywood movies. The commission is an advisory body created by the city of Seattle. They don't have legal power, but they consult on policy decisions with the city. Theater owners confirmed to the Seattle Times they received the letter but offered no comment on it. The paper says the theater has been losing money. You know that sound. The Blue Angels will once again be ripping through Seattle skies this weekend. Anna Boyko-Wyrock reports on the mixed opinions that accompany the annual Seafair tradition.
The Airshow Climate Action Coalition opposes the noise and air pollution from the Blue Angels and says military weapons have no place at a family festival.
They represent war, killing, death, something that we should do all we can to avoid.
Dan Gilman is with Veterans for Peace. He was a medic in the Vietnam War.
I just feel ashamed that I participated in that.
But the military connection inspires pride in other folks. Dennis and Gay Dugosh have a grandson in the Marines. They came all the way from Silverdale for the Blue Angels.
But I grew up in the West Seattle area, so we used to come and watch these all the time growing up. Lots of very fond memories.
On Saturday, community groups will rally and march in opposition to the Blue Angels. They say it's time for new traditions. Anna Boyko-Wyrock, KUOW News.
Fire season in the Pacific Northwest is off to a roaring start. Washington state officials say more land has burned just a month into fire season than in any full year since 2021. It's just one of the impacts of the Northwest's severe snow drought that are starting to show up around the state. KUOW environment reporter John Ryan has been following our changing climate and its impacts and talked with Paige Browning.
So how bad is it across the state right now in terms of the fire situation?
Yeah, I'd say we are off to an explosive start.
Wow.
There's more than 300,000 acres have burned so far this year in Washington. That's about 7 Seattles or three Whidbey Islands. And it's the most in any year since 2021, as you said. And it's still July. Northwest fire season usually peaks in August, and it continues until the autumn rains drench the landscape again. And just today, Governor Bob Ferguson called in the National Guard to help with firefighting in eastern Washington.
Wow, an explosive start. And we still have August and September ahead.
And October.
What's driving this big burn year?
This is Washington's 4th consecutive year of drought. Statewide drought was declared in April, and since then we have had warmer and drier conditions than normal. And the drier weather means drier vegetation that burns more easily. And we have had just a dismal snowpack, I'd say, in the Northwest this year. About half of normal here in Washington and less than 15% of normal in Oregon. And that's where the Northwest's biggest fires are burning right now. And without snowpack, that leaves forests and grasslands to dry out early in the year. And now they're just tinderboxes, vulnerable to anything from lightning strikes to a stray campfire spark or a cigarette butt.
You mentioned lightning strikes. I was going to ask about storms in general. We've seen some big storms over the past year and past several months, and that plays a role.
Yeah, July saw a couple of big thunderstorms pass through a lot of eastern Washington, setting off just hundreds of strikes, hundreds of new ignitions to get fires going in this very, very dry vegetation.
Yeah. I'm curious, people in the Seattle area might be a little surprised to hear that so much of the Northwest is burning, because here in Seattle, at least, we really haven't seen much smoke this summer, right?
Yeah, that's right. We've been really lucky so far in Western Washington, at least, given how much smoke there is out there that's really not that far away. But the winds have mostly spared us here in the Seattle area. I asked Karen Bumbacco about the smoke outlook. She is Washington's deputy state climatologist, and she tells me we are still very early in this Northwest smoke season.
There's a lot of fires in Oregon. Also, Eastern Washington is starting to really kick up. So my bet is that those in Western Washington will be impacted eventually, especially if we have more heat waves on the horizon.
Those heat waves that she mentions, they can fuel fires directly, but also they tend to generate strong winds coming down out of the Cascades here to Western Washington and here in Pugetopolis. So that's when we tend to get these really smoky days with smoke coming here to us from other places' fires.
Okay, I've wondered about this. So it does have to do with how the winds are shifting, and those heat waves, you're saying, are what make it the most impactful as far as smoke being brought in.
Yeah, the heat domes, heat waves, they tend to bring in these winds coming out of the east where the fires tend to be, and then landing in the lowlands of Western Washington.
Instead of off the water to the west. So we're seeing a rough start to the fire season. What is in the forecast as fire and smoke season continues into the fall, September, October, however long this goes?
Well, in the short term, just this morning, the National Weather Service issued something called a particularly dangerous situation alert for Eastern Washington. And that's the first time they've done that in Washington state. And it's for only the most severe fire conditions. It's much worse than a red flag warning. You may have heard of those. The Department of Natural Resources says on Saturday, high winds will create explosive fire growth that is rarely seen in Washington state. So for the medium-term forecast, we are expecting continued drier and warmer than usual weather in the coming months. And then this fall and winter, we are expecting a super El Nino, as they're calling it, to bring us a not snowy winter. So more bad news for next year's snowpack. And really long-term, as fossil fuel pollution keeps heating our climate, we can expect fires to get worse. I should add, fires are a natural and even necessary part of the Northwest landscape. But as climate change brings us hotter, drier summers and less snowy winters, we are seeing fire seasons start earlier, last longer. And on top of that, with decades of fire suppression, those have left forests overdue for big burns as the fuel has built up in them year after year.
I appreciate that short, medium, long-term outlook, John. And just to reiterate what you said, that the National Weather Service issued a particularly dangerous situation alert for Eastern Washington, which, as you said, is a first for Washington state. John Ryan is KUOW's environment reporter. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Paige.
Next week on Seattle Now, if you haven't voted yet, we got you. We'll preview the primary election and go through the key races you'll be deciding on. Hear that Monday morning. That's all for today from the KUOW newsroom in Seattle. Our producer is Andy Hurst. The interview in today's episode was produced by John O'Brien. I'm Patricia Murphy. Seattle Now and KUOW are members of the NPR network. Have a great weekend.
I just love jets. I love military weapons. I love the loud noise. I love the performance. I just love the Blue Angels. Yeah.